Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast number 17. I'm Jill Renee Feeler. Hello, Janet Icorst. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here.
Yes. Agreed.
I have an idea for the topic.
Can't wait to hear it.
Okay, and let's see if you agree. So, at the beginning of number 16, there were a lot of beautiful layers that you were sort of reminding us of that we sort of touched on lighter than, anyway, it was appropriate for the end of number 15. And one of them was, and it was very subtle how you offered it, but I'd like to kind of bring it right to the surface and shine just some love and light and expanded words on it. And it is this sort of expectations of others, expectation of humanity. And one of the takeaways that I felt um, within some of your words at the beginning of 16 was that growth is offered to everybody. We might see rapid evolution in certain individuals and that it's offered to everybody. And first of all, let me just give you the chance because I want to hear from you.
Mm.
Do you have a general expectation that all of humanity is always offered evolution, or all of humanity is going through an evolution and is changing and growing and evolving? I want to hear from you on that part.
Mm. Okay, so let me just
And this
take
isn't a setup, by the way. My community is like, oh, she's going to set her up. No, this is not a setup. It's not a setup. It's not a takedown. I literally respect that idea. I do, anyway, we'll get to it. I think this conversation is going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm kind of fascinated to see what happens here. Wow. So free choice is something that we have. I'm going to say that one more time. Free choice is something that we have. And everyone always gets honored and respected in that. So, that being said, I do feel, and I'll use the words on Earth, in this planetary consciousness, in the reality that we are interacting with every day, there are significant shifts happening. Now, how people respond to that is very individualized. And what I do think will happen is some people will decide that they're not interested and will leave the planet, quite literally. And that is honored. But I think the consciousness of what we're doing here on Earth, we've kind of made a decision, and I mean we and the big we, like all of creation, that Earth is kind of done with some of the things that have been happening. So, what does that mean in terms of your question? That means that there are incredible opportunities right now for people to shift in ways that they can't even imagine until they do. It can happen very quickly. Sometimes it happens slowly. And there's so many factors involved in that that it would take me an entire lifetime to describe them. So, does everybody have the opportunity? Abso-effing-lutely. Does everybody want to? No.
Oh, thank you for that. Another related concept, spiritual theory, is that there are these really long ages, iron ages, golden ages, those sorts of things, where in the metaphysical community, in the woo-woo communities, I've heard ideas and I've kind of contemplated these ideas myself about, are there certain ages where we as the human species are sort of, I want to say, destined, it's
Mm.
coded based on these ages that we will have an enlightenment area, or excuse me, an enlightenment era, and then a contraction era. And it sort of goes in these cycles slash waves. as this big wheel of time and its ages starts to turn. And when I look at that now, I think that's an interesting theory because, I mean, that's partly what historians do, is try to explain what is happening and what has happened. So to go back as far as if somebody doesn't know, just look up the Golden Age, Iron Age, et cetera, and you'll see a visual. They're long. These are long cycles. How would, I mean, to me, I think it's safe to say a human would be unable to prove through any scientific method that we currently have, prove that that's true. So I prefer to look at it as a theory. And I appreciate that I mean, yeah, I just was kind of like, can we help? kind of version of myself. It makes sense to me that there would be certain eras where different energies would be occurring, new energies would be inserted with a sort of a story to them about that would affect when people are designing their incarnation, which I believe happens. So for any of us that are here right now, we chose a birth date that is coinciding with a certain story of energies. When I was initially hearing and interacting with communities that were talking about that, it felt like something happening to us. Well, we're an enlightenment age. Jill, we're coming into the enlightenment age. Do you know what that means is happening to us? You know what I mean? It sort of felt like an outside thing was happening to us that we almost didn't have control over. And this was 2011, 2010, and there were a lot of expectations about what the Mayan calendar meant or didn't mean. And there were a lot of expectations and predictions about mass awakenings, and anyone that we knew and everyone we didn't know was going to be a completely transcendent, transformed version of themselves. And they would surprise even the most stubborn family member. It's like, just wait. Wait until Uncle Bill. Oh my God, I can't wait to see Uncle Bill. He's such a hot mess, and it's going to be amazing to have him. And some of them, there was arrogance in the spiritual communities. They were like, he's going to be calling me. He's going to go, Sally, cousin Sally, you were right all along when you were talking about chakras and meditation. And I get it now. Would you please help me? Because now I understand. I need you. Can I book a session with you? You know what I mean? There were a lot of it. We were told that healers and any of us that have spiritual abilities, that have practitioners, they were going to be people lining up the doors for us because we were going to be in such high demand because of this mass awakening. And here we are. It's 2025. And there are some people that have gone into real estate and done other things because they weren't lined up around the corners like maybe we hoped or thought they would be. And our cousins and loved ones are not, literally, blowing up our phones trying to get our services on their counter. Like, quick. So sorry, I went into so many different areas there, but which I admit I did, but it just kept flowing. But I love the reflection on where we are. And I just want to honor any of us that have been around that long, that just like we've forgotten just how much our expectations of others have changed. It felt so much better for me to not have, I don't want to say any, but to not expect someone in my life to have some awakening in this lifetime. So I personally agree with your take on, are we all offered major breakthroughs and evolution in our lives, growth, reflection, healing? Yes. Part of me, it breaks my heart that people don't get it, don't accept it, don't see it, don't do it. It's like, damn, that's so sad. It's sad for you. I'm sad for all of us. And then for those that do have these epiphanies and transformations, I'm like, yes. I'll be quiet
Wow. Wow. If you guys get tired of me saying that word, sorry.
now. I'm not tired of it. I haven't heard of anyone being tired of it.
Um, so a couple things that I want to start with the last one first. I don't feel sorry for anybody, not saying that that's like a power over thing, because I want to say I know enough. And again, that's not that I'm better than anybody else, but well, I'll say it this way. The people that I have kind of felt sorry for that they didn't have A, B, C, or D, which I felt I had,
Mm,
I have had the pleasure
mm,
of hearing
mm,
what happened to them.
mm,
And it has been transcendental, some of it. And
mm.
my vision just couldn't see it when I was feeling sorry for them or thinking
Just,
that they didn't have
yeah.
it, right? So
Thank you for that. I want to retort. I'll interrupt in just a minute, but finish that idea because I don't want to, I mean, part of me does, I admit, want to defend myself because that is it. I did use those words and you're right. And thank you because I actually share your thought. I remember a part of me going, oh, that's so sad. I'm just compassionate because there's a part of them I recognize there's a whole other expression of themselves that they could be that they would probably like better and I would probably like a lot better too. But I'm not like it's not like I'm above them
yes.
or farther along. I feel like the most condescending things that people say, and it's not intended that way, is
Mm,
oh yeah, I used to think like you.
mm,
I used to think that way. So condescending. And maybe it only feels condescending to me, but there's just so I'm further along than you than that. Just
mm.
oh, I just cringe every time I hear it. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted there.
And I think maybe because I wasn't judging anyway when I was saying that either. That was not my intention. But I
No,
guess what I'll
yeah.
say is it's more about I have compassion for the struggle they're in. Like that's
Mm,
kind of the healthy way that I had to learn, right? Like just to
mm.
have deep compassion when they're struggling. And and they're going to have to do whatever they're going to do. And it's so honored, right?
And appreciate them for what they are.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that felt so much better to me than I think I've come to realize we all have one family member. Maybe it's a sibling that is just really just feels like they're just going through the ringer in this lifetime. I feel like all of us have someone in our inner bloodline that is going through that, and it can be really tough to watch, but yet it's almost like, but where can we connect? Where can we relate? And if it's a healthy enough relationship where it's like, okay, we can talk about this very superficial topic and have an enjoyable time together. Good. I'm fine with that. Right. Anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I just wanted to comment on, just because I want to, is that when you were talking about ages and cycles,
Mm,
and I mean, I have friends that have written books on this, right? And it
mm,
doesn't come from the study of it in the typical way. It came from a knowing of how it has been working, right? So it was
mm.
just that remembrance and that knowing of it. And as you were
It's
sharing,
beyond proof, right? It's beyond evidence. It's channeling
it
types of
is.
things.
It's
Yeah, that's good.
channeling,
Yep.
remembering, into whatever words you want to use for that. And so when as you were as you were talking,
Mm,
what was very clear to me as you were sharing was that I don't know if we're done with those yet. We might be.
mm,
We might be done with those eras and those ways
mm,
that
mm,
reality has been working, I'll say,
or does work. Yeah.
or does work. I
Mm,
There probably are some kind of foundational, hard, fast energetics or operating systems that probably won't shift as much as some other ones. But in
mm,
terms of how the cycling goes, we may be completing. And this is very much, again, it's the year of the snake thing,
mhm,
and the example that I and you shared about it was the Mayan calendar. the Mayans had information up to a certain point in time, and they didn't know what was going to happen after that.
And
You
it
know,
wasn't evidence, it was evidence-based, but it was also very inspired. Yeah,
it
that's
was.
so cool.
And
Yeah.
so, and people thought that the world was going to end. No, it's just that the Mayans, that was the end of what they, were new, right? So, so that's just such a great
Mm,
example that I think
mm,
that that's literally, we may be like the Mayans in the terms of the way that we have interpreted or experienced our reality,
mm,
that we may come to certain points where we're not doing those cycles anymore in that way.
mm,
And I just want to say that and help people because this is in our personal lives too. It's micro, macro, that we literally can be the end of our own Mayan calendar.
mm,
And
mm,
if you're at that point, I just want to cheer you on and bless you and say, hallelujah and amen that you got to this
mhm,
point for yourself.
mm,
And that might require a bit more unknown than you may have been used to.
mm.
And if that's the case for you, please just honor yourself in that. Because I know that you know what you're doing in your God level sort of way. It can't be any other way.
I love what you're saying there, Janet. And I like this idea that maybe those eras and times are useful to certain people at certain times, and others are just sort of like, I don't know if I need that to apply to me, right?
Mm,
I brought up something regarding evidence before, and I just want to add to that because you bring up something very real. And for those that might be newer to me, I just want to add this. When I say something can't be proven, that doesn't mean I'm saying it's not true.
mm,
That means that my weirdly logical brain is acknowledging that in the realm of theory. And I like to appreciate the difference between this can be proven and this can't be proven. And again, just because it can't be proven does not mean it's not real. But it's a different level of expectation. It's a different, not burden of proof, but sort of like, since I can't prove it, do I find it useful to my values and my values for humanity? Or does it feel repressive?
mm,
So I just wanted to add that.
mm,
The other part that I just want to offer this group, there was an experience one time, and I think it was at like a weekend retreat kind of thing that I was hosting. I invited a group to come to Park City with me in Utah, and we just rented the penthouse and just channeled for like 2 days.
mm,
And there was this experience, and there was one of the um, participants, and there was just this clear resonance of her as just very, she has an affinity for crystals and stones and that sort of energy. She is a healer. And there was this inspired idea I had
mm,
of her coming, allowing a range of herself to come into space time
mm,
and turn off some of those grid systems of
mm,
the crystals
mm,
because they weren't meant or they weren't designed, or it was just time to put them to sleep.
mm,
And I just had this image of her literally around the planet Earth and possibly beyond, just almost like boing, okay, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to
mm,
sleep. And that might resonate with some people here in this very, I want to say unique and special community
mm,
for how things can happen in terms of those ages. How does it work? Do we start to put them to sleep ahead of its cycle if there are these cycles? Do some of us, to me, this is true, and this came through in another channel experience at some point. Some of us come in to kind of turn those grids back on some of us, while we're doing it, we're like, yeah, now I'm here to turn on this grid system, but God, it feels really old. I mean, like, can't we just do something totally new? Right? So yeah, I'll turn that one on, but I also want to add a whole other grid system onto this because A, might be time. B, you might feel expertise, and C, you might feel authorship, authority to offer such a creation in this reality. Feel like for some of us, that's a huge part of what we do and what we are, is we're offering something here, we're being something here that is completely off script compared to your family, compared to how you were raised, compared to your culture, compared to your time. You just feel ahead of your time or beyond time or whatever it is. And there's just this internal compass you have for, yeah, that. Yeah, I want to be this. I want to play with this idea. I want to explore that way of literally animating my human. That's never been shown to me, never been explained to me. I just am that. It's in there. And that can supersede an age. To me, Jesus was far more than the age, literally the not age, chronological human age, but the cycle of energy that was supposedly going on then. And that's why he stood out so much. Anyone in any community that sort of has a sparkle or shine to them are just like, where did you come from? Like in an impressive sort of like, huh, wow, like what? Who are your parents? Like, you're not like the Johnsons at all. Wow. I mean, like, and you didn't leave and like come back. I mean, like, you're just special. You know what I mean? I love it when any of us feel that sense of freedom to kind of
Mm.
move ahead and move along evolutionarily in an unexpected, transcendent sort of way. I like it when we can feel that, and especially when it's not combined with arrogance. It's not
Mm.
better than, it's just, look, I can play this amazing song, and I'm sorry if you don't know the music and I've never written it down, but I'm just going to play it. And if you like it, that's great. I'm just going to be me. And if you like it, that's awesome. And if you don't, okay with that. I'm not going to require you to listen to it, you know? Yeah.
Wow. A little bit of clearing here. Hang on one second. I talk. Maybe a lot of clearing. Hang on.
I'll take a drink too.
Mm. So I am going to state that I suspect that anybody that's listening to this in any space, time, place very much lives this way. And I don't care if you use words like energetic. I don't care what level of society you operate in. I mean, I have a desire to very much apply this to the institutional systems in our reality. And I suspect everybody here has their own version of that. And I want to honor you for that.
Mm.
Because I don't think any of you would be listening to Jill and I talk with who we are if you didn't have that. So I just want to give like a big thank you for that. And kind of, I see you and I know you. Yeah, I kind of do. Like I'm just looking who's ever like in that timeless sort of way, right? And we all can appreciate a level of joy of living that we share.
And I would love to hear your words and your thoughts about this idea that some of us possibly intentionally incarnate with energies that are not a part of the age.
Mm. Like part of the next stage, kind of, you mean? Like that?
I mean, even so, this example of this participant in that retreat, like, okay, I'm going to
Oh, yes.
incarnate at the kind of the end of a supposed enlightenment age to begin the process of shutting down the crystal, putting not shutting down in a like it's happening, like where something bad happened. It's just time to go to bed. Or those that are coming in what can be called a dark age with embodiment and energy and free will still
Mhm.
related to an enlightenment age.
Mm. Wow. I'll start with that. So those have been some of the most challenging experiences when we
Mm.
are literally seed planting. The
Yeah,
level
I
of
just felt
comfortability.
that.
Oh,
I feel that in my like, oh, it's just those can be so hard.
and have been. And we knew that that would happen on some level. I think that we underestimated, I know I did, how hard it would be.
Mm-hmm.
I did it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So that's one. Because I suspect everyone listening to might very well relate to that, you
Right
know?
now, even.
Yes. Right now. Yes, yes, very, very much true. And as you were sharing, I was debating how much of this I would share personally speaking, but what the heck, we'll see what happens. In terms of like shutting down grids
Mm.
or the evolutionary shifts, I very much a lot of how I'll say use my resources here, which is my time and my energy, and even
Mm-hmm.
money, that's a resource, right? I am very much working with the energetics in that way of, oh, wow, shutting things down, firing things up, adjusting frequencies. I mean, these are words
Mm-hmm.
that people in business do too, but it just looks differently. So I can relate to it from a very energetic perspective because I can see connections and light and systems, right? And even within Gaia. And I just had a friend in town who was that's what we did. You know, she was here for 2 days and we drove around and some of the things that happened were phenomenal. Not unfamiliar to me, but the way that she and I kind of worked together was took transcendence to a new level, and I could
Mm-hmm.
feel what we're doing on all these different levels. So, that's my direct personal experience. And I also have visions of how this is to work in the business arena and in other institutions. And I do feel like this has been, we did purposefully incarnate. We purposefully did this to bring these things in. And it may look like I called myself the black sheep one time, and a friend of mine says, "No, you're the white sheep." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like it doesn't matter. But the point
But,
is that my operating system or the way I interact with reality is pretty different than a lot of people. And I've been this way my whole life, and I don't see it because it's me, right? But I get this reflection all the time, right? And I'm sure
mm-hmm.
you do too. And so,
Yes.
I don't remember what the original request was, the question.
No, that's okay. I think it was, it's almost like, how do you feel about this idea that we can or do intentionally incarnate as our soulfulness in a time with energies that are of one age, but you're actually incarnating into a different age.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah,
so
me
that's
too.
that's a long answer to hell yeah. Like why
Yeah,
why do you think we struggle in these certain ways,
you know, yeah.
you know,
Um,
and
and
not
there's
get
two,
recognized for it, like
oh my God. Yeah,
not that we need it, but it's like, are
cut
any of my
it.
people
Oh
here?
my God.
Are any of
I
my people
know.
here?
Yeah,
And here
yeah.
we are.
I know. Yeah, we're right here, people. This sense of there's a theme of loneliness that a lot of individuals that may identify themselves as this, that you incarnated with an expression, with a nature of soulfulness that is possibly beyond its time, beyond your family, beyond your ancestral lineage, beyond your DNA, beyond your genetic code. And you brought in this entirely, I want to use the word updated or upgraded or transcendent system. And here you are. And as we did that, my storyline is, oh, that's right. We got to pick parents. Oh God. I had this incarnation all figured out that I was going to be beyond this time that I'm being born into. But yeah, that's right. I got to pick parents. Oh, let me make sure I pick parents that are hopefully not, hopefully going to be conducive to what I want to experience, et cetera, and genetic code that I won't be hindered by, that I won't give my genetic material too much credit, given the soulfulness that I'm inspired to be in that life.
I'm going to share something personal here. And I feel a little emotional about it. I have a brother that died a couple years ago, and I it was a fascinating experience for me. And my family, it's like I didn't talk frequently to my family, and I still don't. I've got a brother and a sister still alive, and but we still shared a level of closeness.
Mm-hmm.
And what I realized, my brother had gone through a process where he had major heart issues and had like a quintuple bypass and had some sort of, I mean, a major heart surgery. And I had already had plans to be in town while this was like right before his surgery. And he ended up having the surgery, and then he passed after the surgery. He died. And my experience with that was so profound in that there was a level of myself, like I've known myself to be the white sheep, the black sheep, different in an active way in the way I participate in reality, right? I've known this about myself. My family of origin have been more, I don't know, practically based, right? Like healing, like that. They're not into any of that stuff, right? And what I learned through that process with my brother and my family is that I could see the other aspects of my family members that I wasn't aware of. And I could see how deliberately and how consciously before we incarnated, we planned this out. And I literally saw my family. Oh, I can feel the energetics. Like kind of is like the A team coming in or the, what are those cartoons? The Indestructibles or the who are they? The
Incredibles, the
Incredibles.
Incredibles.
Incredibles. Like I could see my family members, how we incarnated. They just weren't conscious of it in the way that I saw it during that process of my brother dying. And that literally took my breath away and still does. And I've been thinking about my brother and the way that he kind of had like a he had a level of, he had a beautiful heart and all that stuff, but he was kind of the opposite of me. Like I'm eternally optimistic and he was very funny, but he had this other kind of like Debbie Downer kind of feeling about him, like, oh, those people, they're just, not doing it right or whatever, and had some other characteristics.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was very interesting. So we all picked very well. And who had consciousness of it and who, I mean, even my mom who passed like, I don't know, quite some time ago, over a decade ago, I can see now her and I could see her struggles on the planet and I could see all that now. And God bless, it was hard, right? And very purposeful. And I've used that DNA from her and my dad, and I've literally transcended a lot of those patterns that seem to me, genetically destined in my world, and they're not. Like my DNA doesn't look like that anymore. No, I don't have those problems, and so it's fascinating, and it brings me to a level of humility to, again, not think I know things that I know and still recognize that I'm still kind of, I don't know, consciously ahead of my time, I'll say, even though
Hmm.
everybody still has their part that they're playing in this really beautiful way.
Yeah. I am so glad that you shared that. Thank you. I know it can be vulnerable when you and I are sharing kind of personal insights to our family that we don't normally talk about, or that I don't know for any of the audience that doesn't normally share a podcast that you basically share with the world. But sometimes when we share something like that, it's like, have I said that to them before? Is there anything uncomfortable here that someone will hear me say that feels uncomfortable to share publicly? Right. So there is some vulnerability when we share personally like that. And I just want to thank you for
Yeah.
trusting us. And that was beautiful.
Mm. And I do want to say I absolutely adore my family. And it doesn't matter to me whether you are into energetics or not. I really do see your
Mhm.
brilliance. And I honor you for that.
Janet, can we talk about that? We're doing pretty good on time, right? Or
Ah,
do you know what? We should probably do it for next one. I have an idea for number
okay.
18.
Okay.
Okay. And it is because this is in my experience, it's a very common thing. Again, given what we talked about here in 17. If it is true that this community of participants in this kind of podcast regularly feel like the black or white sheep, or whatever, just feel like I am definitely unusual from the rest of my family or the rest of the world, it is common that people can
Mhm.
go through a breaking away from their genetic family with hard feelings, with resentment, with bitter feelings. And I've had my versions of that. And I want to say I've healed it. That would be true. I've also added new perspectives to it, new storylines of what I tell myself about me and about them that have allowed for me to also say, I love my birth family,
Mm.
right? I am estranged from one. I'll just admit that. There's just a lot there where we bring out the worst in each other. So it wasn't, a oral agreement. But I'm just like, I can't. And I feel like that sibling feels the same way. We just literally bring out the worst in each other for whatever reasons. But my parents, my other sibling, my in-laws, I have so much sincere and authentic love for them, a good, healthy relationship with them. And that wasn't always the case. So
Mm.
I love to I
Mm.
feel like it could be really useful in 18, not with too much vulnerability that's unnecessary, but just in general, it's almost like how to love your human family again, even if they've passed, right?
Mm.
The rewrites I did between me and my mom
Mm.
are incredible. I mean,
Mhm.
my storyline with her and same gender parents, that's very common. I'm just like, oh my God. I had so many negative stories that really caused friction between us. And then all of a sudden I had these inspired ideas, just like, wait a minute, she just loves to help people. Like,
Mm.
how is that so offensive to you? You know what I
Mm.
mean? And just humility and laughing at myself. Like, I've just been reading her with a really mean script for a long time in my life. So, anyway, I would propose that maybe for number 18.
Yeah, that sounds great because that's really micro macro. You know,
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
'cause I remember when my family, I mean, this was years ago, and I brought up politics at the kitchen table, and they're
Hmm.
like, "Oh God, no!" And I was like, "If we can't do this here, where can we do this?" Like you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
I think that's great. Yeah, because I mean, it's very purposeful how we came to
Yes.
this reality, where we came through, who
Hmm.
we chose to come through with, what we decided to do after that, and how we experienced it all is very purposeful
Yeah.
and rich.
And as a teaser, for those that already do have an inner harmony with your biological loved ones, or even your married into loved ones, I still feel like you'll get something out of it, because we probably all know somebody who's struggling with creating more harmony. And again, this is the year of the snake, right?
Mm,
So this idea of shedding thoughts that don't serve,
mhm,
perceptions of others that are not conducive to inner harmony or harmonious relationships. And again, this pertains to the living and those that have passed.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for 18 when we get to it.
Yeah, me too. And we touched on some of these, so it'll be good to go
Mhm.
in deeper with these about expectations or
Mm.
traditions or all those things, because
All those things.
all those things. Wow, that's very, very rich. Wow.
Thank you, Janet. Does that feel like a wrap for 17?
I think we're complete.
Wow. Talk about macro micro. We couldn't get more macro than these. I think they're 26,000. I mean, you have friends that have authored these books, so they would know. You probably know, is it 26,500 years for every grand cycle? I mean, I don't know what it is, but you can't get more macro away than that.
You
And then
can.
super macro of your brother passing and seeing your family show up in a transcendent way that blew your expectations. It's so good. Anyway, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Till next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.